first to minor farming. The only thing I remember about that one is the crazy hound. And then when we moved to the Kieffer Farm, I don't know, it was maybe 7-10 miles, we started driving the cattle in the morning down the road. There was no trucks or that to haul them that time. So we drove them over there and took all day to get them there. And of course, all the farmers along the road, they'd come out and block the driveway, keep the catbird going. So we got there at night, and well, we finally got there. Well, I think pretty much why my dad rented that farm, it was almost a new barn on it. So it had nice facilities for the cattle. Well, my dad had purebred Holstein Friesian cattle, was registered, and also, I forget what the name of the pigs were, they were also purebreds. And he had, well, we had a team of horses then. And then I remember Kate and Queen, big blue roans, and they were both mares, and we, almost every year she had colts with them. So there was about 4 or 5 sets of colts down through the years. Especially one set I remember because my Uncle Louis traded a load of hay in for that pair of horses, and I drove them horses after a while. So, but yeah, and then another story about the horses, these parents had a pair of colts, and they were maybe 4 or 5 years old, and the feed was getting scarce, so my dad said he heard that the lumber yards would take them and use them over the winter, then we didn't have to feed them. So I took that team up there, but that was not a good idea. When that one come back, they must have beat him up or something. He was hard to handle, but he had died then a couple of years after that. Of course, we had an old farmhouse, a big old farmhouse, which in the winter you only heated that one room. Your kitchen dining, that was one big room, and the bedrooms weren't heated. And my parents slept downstairs, everybody else was upstairs. So, pretty cold. You run like hell to get down in the kitchen. Your dad out there stoking the stove with wood. There was a kitchen range, that was about the heat in the living room, and that was all shut off. The only time that was heated was when Christmas was. We don't use that room where we had company. So the furniture lasts forever in that room. We didn't get many presents. Maybe family got one gift, a game or something, and the rest of the time you got socks and underwear and maybe a bag with peanuts and candy in, and that was about it. Those times were pretty tough. It was during the Depression, and the drought was at that time, and milk strike, so there wasn't much money available. We never bought any food. The only thing you bought was flour and sugar and some spices, that's about it. Everything else was raised. Chickens, pigs. On a farm it was all right because you raised your own meat and your grain and your gardens and that, so we didn't hurt too much. We always had plenty on the table. But I know people in the city, they were pretty well down to apples and begging. And it was because I know my sister Margaret was married and had 2 kids, and that was a little later, but they still couldn't get a job. They were on what they call WPA. What was it? War Production, something, I don't know, WPA anyhow. But that was in about 36 already. So things weren't turned around too much. That was myself and my brother Joe. After we made our first communion at St. Mary's in Auburndale, and that's the barn on the Kieffer Farm, where we lived from the 30 to 36. We were about 7 and 9 years old. Well, they always ask what you done, what your entertainment was, you know. You had to be entertained nowadays. Well, we did, we entertained ourselves. So I remember on week or Sundays, Saturdays you worked. Nobody worked on Sunday in them days. And we'd go to the neighbor, had a Shetland pony. So we'd walk over there, and they had 3 or 4 boys too, so we'd get together and play in that, and then we could ride that Shetland pony. So that was a big deal. Brother Bob was a little older than we are, of course. In Hood County there, we had trouble with gophers on the farms. So the county decided it's going to pay a nickel a head bounty for gophers. Well, gophers are not too easy to get because they're gone in the hole right away. So we figured it out, we'd get some chipmunks. Their heads about the same. And they soaked them in kerosene so they wouldn't rot or that. So my brother Bob had the BB gun, and my brother Joe and I, we were the chasers. We'd get them running up the tree, and if they see somebody, they go around. So we'd move, and my brother was sitting there with the BB gun. So we was shooting chipmunks and putting them in the kerosene and getting a nickel a head for them. Well, another one was on the farm. We had a big team of horses, and my dad was very proud of them, of course. And there was the county, Marshfield Fair, Mid-State Fair, always on Labor Day weekend. And my dad had the horses, and he went into a pulling contest. And we had what they called a stone boat that time. So we'd go in the field and pick up the big stones. Well, they used that for weight. And so they'd keep adding stones. They'd pull the boat one way and then pull it back and add some more stones and do the same thing and add stones till they couldn't hardly move it. So we knew how much they could pull. And he went to the fair at Marshfield with the team of horses and put them in show and single with a colt and everything. He took everything. Biggest team around. They were heavy horses. And then I can remember them leaving with the hay wagon, and my brothers and sisters, they were taking the cows and young stock to show also, because of the purebred herd. And the cattle were tied on there, and the kids were on the wagon with the hay. And they'd stay up there for 3-4 days, whatever it was, a couple of them. So the rest of us had a little more work at home.